allowed to be in here. Who let this guy in here? Hey, get out! I won't ask again, you freak. Get out! I don't want you here! Hey everybody, it's your Highness Pubert here. I really shouldn't be asking you this right now, but have you guys heard of a game called Tunic? Uh-oh. As you've probably already figured out, Tunic is the next indie game I'm reviewing. This game caught my eye back in like 2017 when it was first announced. Back then, it seemed like a very interesting game, so I wishlisted it on Steam, and never thought about it until I got the email back in March that it was finally released. I literally hadn't heard any news about the game until it was released. 5 whole ass years to develop a game? Was this game developed by one person or something?
Yes, kind of.
That man was Andrew Sholdis, or Shold Ice, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He was making the game when publisher Finji came along and was like,
Nice game you got there. Mind if I just kind of,
and you know, published the game and helped them finish it. And now we can finally play it after 5 fucking years. If you didn't know, Finji has published many indie games that you've probably never heard of, but their most popular one is this one. If you don't recognize that one, then congrats! You're not a depressed furry. So how is Tunic? I don't know why I'm asking you this. You don't know shit. It's a lot better than I expected, to be honest, but I do have a couple of problems with it. I'll explain that in more detail, obviously, later in the review. I must warn you though, this is another one of those games that you should probably experience completely blind. But like, actually blind. So before you play, put your thumbs up to your eyes like this, and just kind of... Seriously though, I knew absolutely nothing going into this game except what that first trailer showed, which wasn't much. And I enjoyed it a whole lot because of it. If the trailers interest you at all, I suggest buying it and coming back to this video. It's on Steam for $30. It's a bit pricey though in my opinion, but it is on Xbox Game Pass if you have that. So, let's get started then. Normally I wouldn't start with the presentation, but there's a whole lot to unpack with the story and the gameplay here, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with it since I have the least to say about it. I mean, the visuals are nice, I guess. They're honestly nothing to write home about in my opinion. Tunic is another one of those indie games that uses a low polygon aesthetic with flat shading. I mean, the game does have a bit of texturing to it, but the polygon shading is still mostly flat. I've never really found this look to be very interesting. I give it a pass for retro games since, you know, technology and all, but way too many 3D indie games rely on it now. Some examples are Octodad, Human Fall Flat, Gang Beasts, Hot Shot Racing, Untitled Goose Game, Fall Guys, Donut County, like every shitty indie horror game that tries too hard. The list just goes on and on.
Imposter? Is this the imposter from Among Us?
yes.
If you want to know the difference between a textured 3D game and a flat shaded one, here. This game has all flat colors on the polygons, and now this one has textures on the polygons. I mean, textures don't make or break a game for me, but I feel indie games kind of cheap out by making their 3D game with flat shaded polygons because it's easy. It ends up making every 3D indie game feel samey, and I don't really like it. However, Tunic does have some really good lighting effects, which makes it stand out from the crowd since all of those indie games I mentioned are very evenly lit, making it feel like you're in a world where the sun is always out. The sun in these games is so strong, I'm surprised none of the characters in these games has skin cancer. I mean, I don't mind the art style, and it definitely doesn't look bad at all in Tunic. I just wish there was a little bit more to the art style of the game. As for the music, it's honestly pretty good. It's got some nice, memorable, almost ambient tunes that fit the game's mysterious and adventurous nature. I wouldn't listen to the soundtrack in my car, but if you played a song from the game and told me to guess what it was from, I'll most likely remember it's from Tunic, which is honestly what counts. Here's a short little snippet of the overworld music for you. Okay, so hopefully some of you aren't already besmirching my name in the comments of this video if this happens to be your favorite game. The game is honestly still really fun and really good, so expect a lot more positive feedback further into this review. And like, 2 more negative things I have to say about it.
Gomenasai?
Tunic's story is hard to explain without mixing the gameplay into it, So I'm gonna try my best to keep it all separate for the sake of the review. So the game kind of just starts. Your funny little fox wakes up on a beach and you just start exploring. The game doesn't explain shit to you, which is pretty refreshing honestly. I want to be able to play the game without being bogged down by a bunch of cutscenes and lore. I don't need the game to be all like, "In the year of our Lord, 20XX, there was an orange little fox with a tunic that was lying on a beach all day and jerked himself off so many goddamn times he passed out on said beach. I swear, he must have busted a load like 100 times." In my humbling opinion that's better than yours, the story shouldn't be presented in 20-minute cutscenes unless you're Metal Gear Solid.
It's like one of my Japanese anime.
It should be presented through either short, interesting cutscenes like in Dark Souls, or just through the gameplay itself like in Tunic. The story and lore is presented to you as you play the game in short, little, interesting cutscenes that unravel the mystery, and even those are very few and far between, because it also unravels just with things happening in the background. But the game doesn't stop you to look at it. But what does tell you a lot more about the story is the in-game instruction manual you collect pages for as you play the game. But even then, most of the text in the manual is in the in-game language, with only some of it in English. I know collecting pages for an in-game manual is very strange, but it's honestly implemented really well, and it's an interesting little mechanic which gives the lore a bit more depth. This game's mysterious nature is what kind of pushes you to finish it. It's interesting enough to make you go,
This really tickles my brain in very appropriate ways. So I'm gonna help this little fox because I'm a furry.
that enjoys playing with little foxes. Very, very much. Alright, I'll explain the gameplay now, since telling you about the story further involves me talking about collecting things and, actually playing the game. Okay, so the gameplay is kind of like a combination of The Legend of Zelda, the very original one, and Hyper Light Drifter, and I guess maybe a bit of Dark Souls. Why do I say the original Legend of Zelda specifically? Because Tunic has that same philosophy of fuck around and find out literally everything about this game on your own. The game doesn't tell you how to do anything. You just click the buttons on the controller to find out. It only explains it to you once you collect the pages for it in the instruction manual, which again is a really cool feature, and even then, it isn't 100% clear what you're doing. This little manual is your Bible for this game, so you better understand what it's saying, because without it, you will not get very far in this game. If you don't follow it like it's your religion, I'm pretty sure when you die in real life, you'll face God at the pearly gates, and he'll give you a test about the Tunic instruction manual, and if you get any of the answers wrong, you'll be sent straight to the deepest pits of hell, and the devil will be like,
"Princess Pubert warned you, bro, sorry,"
as he gouges your eyeballs out with your own broken femur. Anyway, you have a roll that's invincible on certain parts of the animation like in Dark Souls, a stamina and mana bar like in Dark Souls, and an HP bar, which isn't similar to any game whatsoever. The first weapon you find is a stick. Look at him swing that stick around, fucking dumbass. You later find a sword and a shield, which is much stronger than the stick, obviously. Now that you have a shield, you can block most hits if you have enough stamina to do so, and can parry attacks, but I've never parried anything because it's too risky. The whole animation for it takes forever, like I could watch a whole season of Family Guy before the animation finishes.
Holy crap, Lois! I think we're in Tunic!
Peter, what the fuck is a tunic?
Shut the fuck up, bitch!
Stamina. You use it when you roll and block hits successfully, but swinging your sword doesn't consume any stamina. When you run out of stamina, you have to wait for the whole thing to replenish before you can use it again, and all you can do in the meantime is do this pussy-ass little dash that has 0 invincibility frames. In addition, you also lose a lot more health when you get hit once you're out of stamina. So don't fucking run out of it, or else this fox's death is on your hands, and PETA will shake their head disapprovingly at you because they'll be jealous they can't make a fox suffer as much as you can. You also find magic items, such as a magic laser staff, grapple ball thingy, crystal that freezes people for a short time, and gun. Guns are magic. I mean, why do you think us Americans love them so much? I actually don't know if the gun uses magic because I never found it. I just know it exists because the manual says it does. Didn't need the gun to beat the game though, so I guess I'm just that much more epicer than you. There are also items like bombs, fire bombs, ice bombs, coin, decoy doll, and little fox banks that give you more money to buy things at shops. Another mechanic I wanted to quickly cover is the praying mechanic.
Religion in my games? Do they no longer have any respect for us intelligent atheists?
Praying allows you to advance in the game by activating certain things, mostly these huge stone columns that hold no dark secret whatsoever. Everything that I just told you, I know because the manual tells it to you. The game doesn't stop and explain it to you, and even then, with like half the items, you don't even know what they do until you actually use them. I think this is some sort of bomb. Which, again, is really cool and satisfying because you feel smart discovering stuff, even if it's just discovering what a button does without the game telling you. The only thing the game tells you how to do is open a menu when the button prompt appears in the beginning of the game when you get the stick, but it doesn't explain what you're looking at. Tunic believes you're smart, and when you see the 3 button-looking things there in the menu, you'll figure out that you have to map the stick to a specific button to use it, and discovering shit about the game like this fucking rocks. I can't emphasize it enough. Another example of the discovery shit in the game are the shops. There are these shops you find in the game, but when you first find them, you don't know they're shops. You just kind of wander into them and... These shops are fucking terrifying. Why did they have to make them so fucking scary?
Andrew Schuldis, you're fucking sick and twisted for doing this, and I love you for it.
When I first entered these, I thought I was about to start fighting for my life in this dark void or something. Jesus Christ. When the little items spawn and you click that button and discover that you have the item in your inventory when you open the menu, your brain clicks and you're like, oh my god, this is a shop. More games need to do shit like this. It makes you feel so smart you'll try applying for Harvard, and then you realize you're actually stupid when you get your rejection letter. Most of the game is like this. You piece the lore together yourself. People are actually on forums discussing this game because they have their own interpretation of the lore. As you collect more pages of the manual, the answers you get will only lead to more questions, like a good mystery does. There are 56 manual pages to collect, and even after you collect them all, you'll still have a lot of questions about the game. Basically, as you continue playing, you find out there's a blue spirit fox trapped in a weird prison that you think you need to free. But as you collect the manual and just play the game, you'll find out this game has a much darker underbelly to it.
Okay, so this is the point where I really start spoiling the game, so if it interests you at all, you know exactly what to do.
You go out into the world and defeat your first boss, which is actually kinda hard, at least for me it was. I'm so used to the slow-paced nature of Dark Souls where you wait around for an enemy to attack and shit. Tunic is much faster paced than that, so you sometimes end up panicking and start doing shit randomly, since the enemy attacks you much faster than you expect, and you end up dodging a whole bunch and doing the sacrilegious thing of letting your stamina run out, and you just end up killing the cute little fox over and over and over again.
Come on, you really want to be known as the asshole that kills such cute, sexy little foxes?
At first, I died a fuck ton at this boss because I didn't realize you could upgrade your stats. It tells you how to in the manual after you collect the page for it, which is before the boss. This is why the manual is important. I had the page for it, but I just didn't read it carefully. There are items you collect specifically for upgrading your stats, and you have to spend money at the statues to upgrade them. Anyway, you clear 2 areas and open the piece of shit liar of a gate that told you it was sealed forever after entering it. And you realize you need to go and collect 3 funny little keys to free your pal. Kinda like the second video game ever created after Dark Souls, which is the Ocarina of Time. Like an Ocarina of Time, you have to explore the world and fight 3 bosses in 3 different areas to find these things. One of them is this giant stone creature thing. It's very intimidating for sure, but it's pretty easy to beat.
Kinda like my dick.
The second one is a librarian.
That isn't what a librarian looks like, Mr. Schuldis.
Negative 10 out of 10 points. And this rat thing. They're all pretty cool bosses, not gonna lie, and they each have their own pages in the manual. My favorite thing about them is how intimidating they are in the manual, especially the librarian and the rat miner. You get their pages and you just stare at them wondering what the fuck they even are about. With a librarian's page, you just see the words librarian, holy cross, and cathedral, and you understand none of what you're looking at. The fact the little fox is hiding under his shield from it makes it that much more intimidating. Additionally, the rat things, or the boss of the scavengers page, is just... he's staring at me like a baby stares at you at the grocery store for like, no reason.
You got a problem with me, punk?
The manual tells you the weapons he uses, so I guess it's a good thing. Still gonna shit my pants when I see him though. Anyway, first is the librarian. You explore this little beach area, you pray to God.
Dear God, please send me to the funny library in this.
You beat him, you get the key thing, and his cold, lifeless body just stays there. Kinda making it feel like you just did a horrible, horrible thing. But killing people is cool, so you don't give a shit. Next is the Forbidden Pass. This place is just fucking ruthless because there's this purple goo, or dark miasma, that if you go near it, not only does it deplete your health, it depletes your life bar just in general.
Bro, what the fuck? That's just mean!
You gotta find out how to get around this area without depleting your health bar too much. But there's an item that allows you to go near it without that happening that I didn't know I had until the end of the game. What the fuck? This is so fucked. Why does God hate me?
I mean, I beat it without the mask, so I guess that just makes me 10 times more better than you. So fuck you, I'm not stupid.
Anyway, after all that bullshit, you enter another area called the Rooted Ziggurat, in which you discover this game is kind of a little super fucked up. You figure out that the inside of these pillars you've been praying to contain these scary purple fox abominations that seem to be screaming in pain whenever you activate them. But you don't give a shit because hurting animals is cool. Joking aside, one of the cute little things your fox does is stare at important items in the world. He stares at treasures, the fox statues, and the pillars you pray at. When you find out the game's dark secret, he just stares at it. He stares at the purple miasma foxes getting turned into the pillars, and you just sit there, wondering what he's thinking. You wonder how he feels and what must be going through that tiny little brain of his.
He's like a little boss baby, like a little man.
With this discovery, everything you do becomes a lot darker, and you wonder if you're even the good guy in this, which is super fucking cool. Anyway though, you beat the boss because you're fucking epic at video games, get the last key thing, and you free your pal in the prison. You come back to this area, which you probably know about at this point, and go to your friend, the big fox, and then he fucking kills you. But it's okay, because you can come back and... I'm actually dead? What the fuck? Yep, the game just actually kills you. All your upgrades are gone, and you have to find the pieces of your body and return back to normal. Or else when you go back and fight the big fox, he kills you in one hit. It's pretty fucked up. To make a long story short, you find this crown thing after a super hard section with scary meat puppet things that look like you, that make you go. That neat little crown allows you to do this.
Oh wow, shoot! Oh fuck! Oh!
Alright, you go find the pieces of your body, you fight Big Sibling Fox and beat him off because you're a furry, and this shit happens. After finding certain pages of the manual, you might have seen this coming, you might have not, especially with this page on screen right now. Turns out the game is about a vicious never-ending cycle where when you beat the game and you take your rightful place as the heir of whatever this world is, you then become the fox trapped in the prison waiting for someone to come to take their place as the heir by fighting you.
Pretty fucking crazy, right? What a shitty ending. How do you get a better one? How bold of you to assume there even is a good ending. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows, fucking asshole. Of course there's a better ending.
Again, there's a certain page in the manual that tells you this. There are two ways to beat the game, and those are to A, take your rightful place, or you can B, share your wisdom.
What does that mean?
Your smooth little brain is probably thinking.
Well, if you look at the page with your fucking eyes, you see your little fox is holding something that looks like a booklet. So that probably means you have to collect all the pages of the manual.
And that's another thing you deduce without the game explicitly telling it to you, by the way.
At this point, if you're good at exploring, kinda like I am, you're only missing 2 pages, the front and the back of the manual. Those are a little out of your way to get. Both of these require you to use something called the Holy Cross. This fucking thing is mentioned everywhere in your manual, and you've probably pondered what it is. Is it an item?
No, it isn't! You silly fucking dumbass.
If you look closely, the Holy Cross refers to your D-pad. Again, you discover this by looking at the manual. There are certain doors and puzzles that require you use the D-pad by inputting specific directions on it that you find out by looking carefully at the world. It tells you every little thing in the manual in its cryptic language, you just have to know what you're looking at. Not only was the manual already a neat way to break the fourth wall, the Holy Cross gives it a lot more depth. Then you start wondering how this world actually works and what the fuck is really going on, but the game never really explains it to you, so you're just left like an idiot discussing it on game forums while Andrew Schuldis laughs at you for being a dumbass and getting it wrong. You use this method to get the back of the manual by obtaining fairies and getting rewarded for finding a certain number of them.
Now here's the biggest fucking thing about this game, which I'm super conflicted on, because on one hand, it's super fucking cool, but on the other hand, I personally don't like it.
At this point in the game, you've probably found a giant door in the mountain, and you wonder how to open it. The manual tells you need the Holy Cross and to discover the Golden Path.
So what the fuck is the Golden Path?
Well, the inputs you've been inputting are in the shape of pads in the game, so you assume it's a specific pattern of button presses you have to input at the giant door to open it.
Well, where is it? How do I find it? If you've been paying attention, it's in the fucking manual. It's just also cryptic.
This puzzle spans the entirety of the game, because it requires you to use your smooth little brain and read and understand everything about this game for furries. The Golden Path is hidden in basically all the pages of the manual, and you have to discover where they go on this grid on one of the pages. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to keep track of this in-game, so you have to resort to pen and paper.
Some of you may find this really exciting because you just love puzzles like this, and I will admit, I've never seen a game do something so interesting and unique before. So it certainly makes the game stand out. But having to keep track of everything yourself on pen and paper lends itself to so many human errors, it's actually insane.
It's very intimidating, at least for me, to have to keep track of this huge sequence because I know I'll fuck it up somewhere, and I'd rather not have to write this shit down myself. I'd rather just play the game. Like I said, it's really cool, but personally, I'd rather the game not do this. I'm sure finding the sequence of inputs, which by the way is fucking huge, out on your own is the most satisfying thing in the world.
It probably feels better than sex, and trust me, I would know. I've had tons of it. I'm probably having it right now as you're watching this video. I just couldn't bring myself to do it on my own, so I just looked the sequence up. Because that's what a real gamer does. Cheats. Especially under significant other.
Just for reference, here's the entire sequence of inputs you have to press on your D-pad to unlock the door. Up, left, down, left, up, left, down, left, up, right, up, right, down, right, up, left, up, right, up, left, down, left, up, right, left, up, right, down, right, up, right, down, left, down, right, up, right, down, right, up, right, down, right, down, left, down, right, down, left, down, left, down, right, up, right, down, right, down, left, up, right up, left down, left up, right up, left up! What the fuck? I got it wrong?
One enormous sequence of inputs the size of my cock later.
The door opened!
Anyway, you get the first page of the manual, and there's a letter from the developers thanking you for solving the puzzle. Now I feel bad.
Okay, now on to yet another critique of the game, which again comes from my personal taste in video games. Don't act surprised, I told you there'd be two.
What you're supposed to do, if you haven't figured it out yet, is share your wisdom by giving the manual to the big fox to actually free him for realsies. And this cutscene plays. And instead of the areas the credits show being empty, it shows you and your new fox buddy hanging out and celebrating. It's all very nice and heartwarming.
Oh wow, how cute!
My biggest gripe with this is that after all this, you don't get like a cool true final boss or something. I know that's kind of a trope in video games, but it's a really good trope. It's a game rewarding you for finding all of its secrets in order to truly beat the game. One last fun challenge to get through. I also understand that if the game did this, it would defeat the point of the message the game's trying to convey, that violence isn't always the answer, and that there's always another way to do things over killing, but come on. How cool would it have been if, like, the fox cries over the manual, but there's this other dark entity that was hinted at throughout the game that wants the vicious cycle to continue, and he swipes the manual and escapes, entrapping the big fox again, and you have to go through one last dungeon and cool ass boss fight to get it back and save your buddy.
That would have been fucking awesome! Are you kidding me?
Instead, we get this corny little message with this corny little ending. Like, bro, I know violence in real life isn't cool.
Not good!
That's why I want it in my video games, especially after having to input all that shit at the door. The fact the game ended like this makes me kinda glad I didn't spend so much time trying to find this sequence on my own, because it wouldn't have been satisfying since I didn't get another cool challenge to overcome.
Again, that's just my opinion, and I'm not Jesus Christ, so don't crucify me in the comments. So, what do I think of Tunic? It sucks farts out of my ass! Just kidding, it's a really fun game that I think you should try out. It's a bit on the difficult side, but if you're comfortable with challenging games, you'll get through this game just fine, especially if you know how to use the manual to your advantage. Although I do have my gripes with the game, I still think it's really cool, and it deserves a lot more attention than it's gotten because of how unique it is. Tunic stands out with its unique fourth wall breaking mechanics and its dark and mysterious lore. If you want to know more about the lore, I'm sure you can find some YouTube videos on it or some Reddit posts on it because I don't understand a lick of it. I might not think it's a perfect game, but you might, and that's also really cool. Anyway, now that I've played with the little fox and enjoyed it very fucking much, I've officially become a furry now, so I gotta go design my fursona. I was thinking he was gonna be like an Arctic fox with like a blue tunic and a red scarf. And he's gonna wield like a sword and shield. His name's gonna be Sinit. Here's the current design I have for him.
Yo, that's a ripoff of Tunic.
Fuck you! You're a ripoff of your parents!